Hey everybody, it's Robert Dunt from ArtTop10.com, and I'm very pleased today to be chatting with Freya Purdue. Hello.
Hello, Rob. Very nice.
So that must be one of your paintings in the background, is it?
It is indeed.
It's lovely, man. So yeah, just
It's called Tundra.
okay. Very cool. Very cool. And what's it made with?
It's all my paintings are made with oil. Well, actually, almost 100% of them. I make some very small pieces occasionally. Actually, in the background, probably you might be able to see those on.
Oh yeah, they're really cool.
They're my and the ones on the sofa. They're my lockdown paintings.
Okay, nice.
And they're done in acrylic because they're being done at home.
All right.
My studio is about 8 miles away from my home, so and I don't have any Wi-Fi there, so I can't take you there. But there will be hopefully an image of that as we go along.
Lovely, lovely. So, I mean, just to sort of kick it off, do you want to give us a little chit chat about what's the sort of inspiration behind your paintings, like the one behind you?
Okay, I suppose they're based really on a kind of linking with I would say the sort of collective consciousness of humanity. It's a bit of a grand statement, but it's intended to be they're intended to as I start working on a painting, I start to either link with an idea, or I have an idea of that's inspired by something I've read or something that I've seen or something that has been found in the New Scientist or something like that. So I'm very interested in exploration, the way that people research things and discover things, and that kind of quest that anybody who is creative really is looking for. So in a way, that's how I start. I start with that kind of focusing on something. So it may be a poetic word, or it may be, a Hindu god, or it may be something much more ancient, an artifact in the museum, or whatever. But I don't limit what I do. I mean, I don't have a sort of a limit. If I find something that I'm just that sparks an interest, then I just follow it.
You'll go for it. So the starting point is not necessarily a visual one. It's not like something you've seen as such. It's more of an idea, is it?
It can be both, really. I mean, sometimes it can be, as I said, it can be a visual, an artifact in a museum, as much as it could be that, or it could just be walking through an avenue of trees or something. It doesn't have a I'm not trying to pursue a particular way of seeing something. It's a difficult thing to describe, really.
I understand, but it's quite interesting. It almost sounds like when you see one of these things, you can almost sense there's a painting coming on. Is it?
Yes, I mean, I get very excited about things like, ideas as I'm sort of working through life. And then I've got this sort of little book that I have to write everything down in.
Cool.
Can
we see the book?
I do. Sorry?
Can we see the book?
Oh, it's in the other room.
Don't worry.
No. Well, it can be, it's quite a poetic little sort of gathering. Sometimes it's just about a word I might see in a text, because, that is an unusual word, or a word for naming something that we already know. That one of the paintings that I made fairly recently was called Kaipu. And it was taken originally from a beaded necklace. That I found in the museum in Cambridge, and I've had the image for a long time, photograph of the image for a long time, and I started to make the painting because I like the idea of having something with a sort of bead thing. And then as I was making the painting, I found this article in the New Scientist
Oh yeah.
which was about the Inca people,
Yeah.
and how they recorded their. It was the only recording capacity that they had. They didn't have a written language. They had it in strings tied in knots.
Really?
And the name of their knotting and so on was called kapu.
Oh,
So
really?
I decided to call the painting that.
Oh, that's very cool.
But the painting was already taking on their kind of colour, the kind of colours they use, and it had a kind of checkerboard on it.
Okay.
And as I read more about them, I realised that they originated the idea of a checkerboard, and so it all became very interesting. And the painting, well, it went where it went. But
Hey, it sounds really cool. Actually, it sounds really interesting. I love the idea that they yeah, because I've been to Peru and the Incas are just fascinating, all that sort of thing. So it's quite intriguing. I love that sort of poetic links of stuff that help you find things.
Yes, I think about that as a kind of I'd say a subconscious, but I really mean a sort of the way things are handed down in time, and the collective consciousness of things that are built up over centuries, and of societies existing. The traces are left both materially, of course, in their artifacts and so on, but also the traces are sort of inner trace, which one can interiorly link with. And that really interests me, that you could link with something from inside yourself. And I know people.
And that relates to the collective consciousness kind of experience.
Yes.
So how would you have said the whole thing at the moment with all the corona? How has that affected that collective consciousness?
Well, it's a bit sub, isn't it? I think it's quite. It's created a really sort of difficult way for people, and I think initially it created a lot of inertia, and people sort of sank, and then I've had several conversations with other people about this sort of phenomena.
Yeah.
But and then there's a sort of recovery from that, and people getting back to work, and all sorts of. And I don't mean physical work, but they're getting back to their paintings and getting back to their, themselves, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to rebalance yourself.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. So the picture behind, what was the inspiration for that one?
Well, I was reading a very interesting book about African an African writer, and the story of his life, whose name I cannot eludes me completely at this moment. But it was about about his initiation into his own culture, and his own traditions, and it was a sort of shamanistic journey, and he writes so well that I was able to sort of participate in that in the interior kind of link that he was. Well, that's what happens when you read a book, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You get absorbed into the whole thing, and it becomes a kind of magical experience, especially if it's of a subject like that. But that's where that painting came from.
Okay.
So, there are things like that you can imagine. I mean, once I start thinking about something like that, I start imagining the kind of a sound that might be being a chant or a sound that they might be making in the village.
Was it like a sort of was there like a sort of drug-induced ceremony thing, or was it just more of a sort of ritualistic sound and dance? And I was just trying to sort of sum it up in my mind and see if the painting brought back those feelings to me.
Yes, I don't really know. There was a description of I don't know if it was drug-induced. I can't really remember. The young men were taken away into the bush, and then they were given these sort of experiences and subject to quite harsh conditions. And then they were taught a bit Carlos Castaneda style, through that sort of strange experiences, and then the experiences were related back, and they were very odd, and I don't think they were drug induced. No.
Okay. You don't want to show us. Is it possible to drag the laptop over to see the picture a bit closer? Or think
of course
that'll work? It won't be too much chaos.
No, not chaos at all. There we go.
Oh, cool! Nice one. Oh, I see. I couldn't see. That's quite interesting up close. It's much more from the distance. It looked like little mountains, but now I can see more of like the little looped lines sort of hooking in with each other.
Yes.
So did you paint around the sort of hooped areas, or did you scrape them back afterwards, or what was your sort of practical process?
They're pretty much. I'm going to sit down.
Yeah,
they
sure.
were pretty much the top.
Okay.
They were kind of the surface was somewhat wet when it was painted into it. So it was quite a quick painting.
Okay.
Sometimes they're quick.
You never know, do you?
Often they're quite slow. I mean, I had somebody was looking at it and couldn't work out how it had been made, and it was well, you know, you just get used to making paintings, don't you? And how you might do something, and so I don't want it to be explicit.
Yeah.
I like that idea that there's a mystery involved.
Oh no, absolutely. It's nice when there's a mystery to how they're made, and it does look. It looks slightly mysterious about how it came into being in that way, which is nice. I think about it. And so did you want to show us? What would you like to talk about next? The smaller ones you made in lockdown, or more of your bigger pieces like the one behind you? Did you?
Yeah, I think the larger paintings. I think the ones in lockdown are just coincidental.
Okay. Go on then. Did you want to show me a few of the things?
Okay.
Yeah.
So these are a set of paintings called Lament.
Okay.
Or they started out being called Lament, and then I'm still not sure what to call them. And these were sort of based on a kind of I suppose the idea of the sort of disappearance of not disappearance of ancient Chinese painting.
Okay.
And how it was being, I suppose, usurped by modern culture.
Okay.
I guess the treasures are always there, but these 5 large paintings were all started separately, but then look much better together. So they really constitute one piece.
So they weren't designed to be in that strip of 5 to begin with.
Not initially, but they relate actually to the paintings in Romania, the prints in Romania.
Oh, okay.
Because a whole series of prints relating to these paintings, so they became, which is quite unusual for me. It comes together in a kind of lot,
Yeah.
But anyway, I just made them. So I got this sort of semi-play on Chinese imagery, a kind of washiness. Very simple. All pieces were made very reasonably quickly, which again I said is quite unusual for me. But it just seemed to have a spirit of its own, and so I just followed it, and now we've got this.
No, they're cool. So was each one was inspired by a different piece of a different thing, was it? I mean, some of them look like rivers. Some of them look like the one in the center looks a bit like a river. The one beside that looks a little bit like a sort of crazy cloudscape.
Yeah, well, it is in a way. I mean, they are all about the same subject, and I started them all at the same time.
Okay, nice.
So, they weren't separate because of time. They were started all together. And as I gradually worked on them, I just became interested in the idea that they might just be actually one painting. And I have made a number of long, thin paintings before, and so I, once I worked on them, I just put them together, and I could see that was the best way to see them.
So when you're painting them, are you thinking about formal properties of like the balance of the colours and the shapes, or are you more just going emotionally with what comes out of you as you work on them?
No, I'm working quite formally in many ways. I mean, it's kind of a process of both alternating those two.
Okay.
in order to get in touch with the thing, you have to, of the idea, as I see it, that one has to have an emotional contact with that, some sort of feeling for it. The kind of colour that was the ground was very much the colour of the, some of the ancient paintings where they've aged, and the sort of silks and stuff. So, I'm looking at that kind of bringing together something which is about that, which is not it, something which, of course, I'm painting. These were done in 2019. I'm painting then, and they then have to evolve. The likeness becomes more apparent in a sense because they're just allowed to. I allow them to flow freely.
Yeah, they do have they do have a silky vibe. You get that silky vibe of that sort of past silk that the paintings could have been put on before.
Yes.
That's really cool. So
technically speaking, the issues are quite carefully worked out. I mean, although I might, for example, if we look at the centre one, I might work with those dashes of red on it, whereas they're not red, kind of rust colour. But and then I'm the washes underneath give it a certain sort of feel, and then because these were sort of, all of them were kind of scraped across. They were painted in stripes and then scraped across, so that the revealed the things that then become looking like clouds were where the patches were that were left unscraped. And I really like that sort of idea that, well, that was a way of forming the basis of the clouds and the images that the paintings were.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So go on, take us on to the next one.
Oh, I don't know what the next one's going to be.
Oh,
hold on a second. Well, I could go to this one.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's cool. I like that one.
And this one's called Taijasa.
Okay.
And it again, this one's about a kind of uplifting kind of consciousness.
Okay.
But it wasn't really. It kind of started off by the idea of ritual, kind of ritual fires, and which you see in the sort of hexagonal shape in the middle. But it was also the idea that people were people living outside, who'd lost their homes, and it was all about the refugees and so on, that kind of thing. That's how it started, and often those things, do come into my thought processes.
It is painted, isn't it? Because it looks a bit sort of stitched in some ways.
Oh yeah, it's painted all right. Yeah,
it's quite intriguing. How big is that painting?
This is about 2.5 meters by about 1.5 meters.
Yeah, so it's quite big, isn't it? Yeah, because because otherwise it'd be difficult to get those little dots in it.
It's incredibly annoying. Yeah, incredibly slow to paint.
I was thinking, it must take ages.
Well, yes. I don't. Well,
Yeah.
One gets used to how you make a painting.
Yeah.
And I love that kind of ritual of building the paint up, but because I've been doing it for so long, it doesn't take me quite so long.
Yeah.
So I can make it look like that. But I have the things that were most difficult for me in the end were the stripes that were part of the drawing of before when the image started, which ended up being these little coloured stripes in the painting.
Yeah.
And then the resolve of the little balls that you see in the painting, which in a sense kind of form structural anchors for not for the strands, but just as sort of visual structural anchors. So I'm very interested in the geometry of things and so on. You can't really make a painting without geometry, I feel.
That's quite interesting, actually. That's a good phrase. I like that. It's really interesting, that one. Go on, take us on to the next one.
Okay, let me see. What would the next one be?
Or whatever you fancy next.
That's it. There.
Oh wow, that's much more like a sort of Paul Klee kind of thing.
Yes. Well, it is partly inspired by Paul Klee, and as as I was working on it. It's called Spangle.
Okay, nice title.
And it's the most recent finished painting, to be honest.
Okay.
And it's it took a long time to paint.
I haven't just realised in the background you've got lots of little, very close in tone and colour squares as well, haven't you?
Oh yes.
Man,
I don't know.
How big is that picture?
Well, it's the same size. Oh, hold on. There we go. You can see the drawing underneath.
Yeah.
There was not very well, I suppose. But there was a drawing by Paul Clay, which is in the gallery in Chichester.
Yeah.
And it is just drawn with very, very fine lines. It's not a very big drawing. But anyway, it was, and I thought, I can make a painting of that, using these lines. And so that's
28
where I started.
years later.
But it did take quite a long time to make. But it has what you can see in the dark ground is it's got gold paint in it.
Oh yeah.
And got the drawing, and then it was washed on and then built up from there.
Oh, so it's a fascinating picture, but I just think, I mean, I've painted things with lots of little dots and stuff in it before, and you just feel sometimes you almost go into like a meditative state, like you're a monk just doing these little sort of things. You go into a different world, and then you think, what am I doing?
Well, this, the concept of this painting was that it was, in a sense, after that, and then of course I suddenly remembered the Mondrian oval paintings, and I thought,
oh, I see, interesting, yeah. Oh, yeah, interesting, actually. That's quite a nice comment.
So I just enjoyed the link, really, between the Paul Clay drawing, and I don't often make work like that, but it just I just got so inspired by it. I just loved it, But the trouble is, each colour had to go on, and then dry before I could put another one on. So it took some time to do.
Come on,
I was going to do another colour.
Yeah, exactly. Show us another one.
Okay, I'm going to show you these now.
Okay, they're cool.
They're ongoing. They're not finished yet.
Okay.
They're pieces that I'm working on for. I was supposed to be having 2 big solo shows this year.
Okay.
But obviously they're not happening now. So, but this was a piece I'd wanted to do for a very long time. I don't really know quite why, but I just thought I wanted to do a whole set of squares with, and it's called Red Botanicals.
Okay.
So they're vaguely botanical images. They're vaguely, but it's quite a challenge. Yeah. It's quite a challenge, I have to say. I should show you.
Oh yeah, can we see a couple of them close up?
Yeah.
Man, these are also quite meticulous.
Yeah, they're a bit too meticulous.
Yeah. Do you?
I needed somebody to come and paint them for me, really.
Yeah. Oh, that's quite an interesting idea, actually. Because I sometimes get into that scenario where I'm painting these things that are so tight that I almost think I might go completely mad trying to get the flat colour correct, and then I sort of want to rebel against it, but sometimes can't quite get away from it. Do you ever feel like rebelling against that tightness?
Yes. Oh gosh, yes. I mean, I really, I started by doing 20, and I thought, no, I need more than that, and then I started another 20. And then I thought, no, that's not right. I need more than that.
How many have you got now?
And now I've got 60.
That's insane. How many more are you going to have?
No, that's it. I can't. And now, I've just been working through them a bit by bit.
It's quite funny, but interesting. So go on, show me another one.
Okay. Well, this is another quite more meticulous one. This is the one called Kaipu, which has the strings in it.
I like the squares at the top. Did you?
Yeah.
It's actually quite nice because you've got different textures to go with those squares. When you were doing those squares, did you draw them out or just paint them on? Was it uber meticulous from the start, or?
Yes.
Yes.
No, because I did a little tiny weeny drawing of these little scriggly bits, and then the strings, and then I had just the purple, the blue, deep blue shape.
Okay.
Obviously, I'd got that in that shape.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't think what to do, and then and I turned it on its side. That's how I made the decision about it. I turned it on its side, and I put the red line in, and it must have been about that time that I realised that the connection with the Incas and the
I see. Nice.
editing the scientists. So suddenly the painting made sense, and anyway, it isn't really much like anything else I have made, really.
David, it's quite interesting. I mean, how would you describe your paintings? Because they're varied, but they're not too varied. They do fit in as sort of. I mean, mine are much more varied. All sorts of completely different things, from abstract to pictures of mountains. But they sort of relate to each other. But do you have a sort of way of describing
them? Not really. I don't know. I mean, I suppose what I'm not interested in doing is repeating something. So I find it really exciting if I've got a new idea. But the trouble is, when I get too many new ideas, and then I've got a lot of paintings on the go. And so what I'm trying to do now is to try and focus a bit more. And sometimes I try and focus around a subject. And I was just going to see if I could.
Oh yeah, let's see.
Show you several paintings that are part of one subject.
Oh, that's quite interesting.
I did a series of. Oh no, hold on. I haven't quite got that end one. Oh, well, there it is. I did a series of paintings based on red and yellow sulfur.
Okay.
I was thinking about alchemy, and I was reading about the nature of sulfur and the transformational elements in sulfur, which are connected with, moving from the material to the spiritual.
Okay.
But then I just decided to make a series of paintings about that, and they were linked with each other. And initially, I had them in pairs so that they were red and yellow sulfur.
Okay.
But they went off in all sorts of funny directions.
Quite freaky. That's quite cool.
So
that's quite interesting. That could be all sorts of things, like a volcano. Oh, that's quite cool as well.
Yeah. So yes, that's right. So these two were always together, because that was it's got silver paint in it.
Oh, nice.
And this one's got gold paint in it.
Okay.
Not that makes any difference to anybody else but me,
oh wow!
Then I've gone too far. That's another long painting.
So would you say they all have like a spiritual element to them?
Well, if one says something like that, you have to define it, don't you?
Or something of of something searching for something else, or something not visible but something you can feel or sense or understand. Or
yes, I mean, I was listening to the. Oh, that's one of them.
Oh, that's cool.
I was listening to the discussion about with about the Romanian exhibition.
Oh yeah.
And they were talking about the other.
The other.
So then that's one of the moments. That's one of the moments. And I think, oh my God, what are they talking? The other. What other are they? I mean, there's so many ways of describing these things.
Yeah.
And the absence and presence thing and all that sort of stuff. It's just words. And well, to me, I can't get involved with that because I don't really, because I'm thinking so visually. And I'm trying to think in a kind of sensitive way within. So, and I'm interested in the interconnections between people. And I'm interested in how people might say something or sing something. They might use visual images or representations of their own culture, or the magic within their culture, the way they use that. And
it's interesting. I think it's interesting to actually say that the words are a bit meaningless for the picture, because I've always been obsessed that pictures should be dealt with on a purely visual basis. Although obviously we're talking about them. But it's quite interesting to think of them more visually.
Yes. I think it's, it is better that one, if you're a painter, to be. I mean, I know there's a lot. People have different things to say, so I have to be a bit careful about what I say. But I think that I do think as a painter myself, I am trying to think visually, and my inspiration comes from all sorts of sources, as I have said. But I don't. What I don't really want to read is art historical thoughts about
exactly.
or analysis of what somebody else is doing, and it's the directness of the experience that the painter has, which is so unique and so valuable. And when somebody is really tuned in to their own vision, then something magical happens. When they're painting, and that I love that. And it's for the other people to talk, for the art historians and the people that and the curators and people like that to talk about it and make sense of it. Really,
it's interesting actually. So it's almost like once you've got your idea, you almost chuck it away as well.
It becomes sacrificed.
Yeah, it's sacrificed into, and then you go on to, you follow it through on a more visual form.
Yes, because I mean, if in a way, if everything starts pretty much from an idea, whether one acknowledges, you can say it's a feeling or whatever, but it's rather insufficient to say that it's just a feeling about something. It lacks content, it lacks precision, and I think when people think about what they do and have their focus into their own nature, then maybe I'm talking about this now as somebody who is towards the end of their career, in a sense, because of all the experience that I have had and the things that I have thought. I mean, I taught at Chelsea for 25 years. I've looked at so many people's paintings and so much visual work that one comes to different conclusions about it.
It's quite interesting. Did you ever see that? Did you ever see that film with Howard Hodgkin and who is that guy? A sort of art criticy guy. You interviewed him, and they went to India, and it was difficult. It was quite funny, but you had Howard Hodgkin just sitting there in this very seriously, sitting there in a sort of big space, just sort of going like this.
And then in his studio space.
No, he was just in India, and there's like this playground. And they said, and they were talking, he's discovered the painting. He's come up with the idea for the painting.
Oh gosh!
And it was difficult. It was difficult to know if it was kind of like impressive or ludicrous.
Yes, well, I mean, I'm going to have to admit this on live, but actually, Hodgkin has never been one of my favourite painters.
There you go. There you go. We'll take it as ludicrous in that case.
Yes, okay. Okay. For the moment, yes.
Yeah, exactly. No worries. Okay. Stating your own opinion's fine.
Indeed.
So this is quite. Is that still painted or is that drawn?
Yeah. No, it's a painting. Yeah.
Man.
It's.
Do you feel there's a kind of slightly dangerous element to the intense control that comes through?
Well, it's interesting. It's like having it sort of takes over. Yeah. I sort of see something and then I think, oh yes, I could try that. And in a way, it then once I've started, you can't just give up halfway through.
I've given up halfway through on some of the paintings.
It's like I have to see it through, and so I might on something like this, I might be. It may be taking place over 6 weeks or something like that. This is a fairly fast piece, I'd say, because the colour, the sort of Prussian blue in the background on a sort of cream ground, and then just painted with a darker mixture of Prussian blue and can't remember. Black probably, the two things together, but and then that was fairly consistent. So there's no colour decisions to make about the painting. The painting. So when that happens, then it could happen much easier. But when there are colour decisions to be made in a painting, it can be extremely difficult.
But it's interesting because I would say this is quite a colour decision in itself. Because I mean, you've just got that you've got, as you say, the cream and the blue black. But,
yes.
But it's quite a simple decision. I mean, deceivingly simple, and it actually is rather. It's got rather a nice colour sense to it, I'd say.
Yeah, I think you can't avoid what you are really in this case, and in whatever, once you recognise that those things are in you, then they're what you're going to be doing. And so, although to me this is a very simple decision about colour, once the decisions are made, then that's it, and that can be. I suppose that's the most excruciatingly difficult thing in making any sort of painting, is coming to the decisions about what you do next.
Yeah.
I've got another painting here, which I show you as this one.
Oh wow!
And this is a painting that came from a kind of sound, a set of sounds.
Okay.
Well, anyway, I sort of got this green area, and then I'd got the lines here, and I wasn't sure what to do, and then I just thought it's got quite a formal element to it, and so I made it the way it is.
What were the sounds you were hearing?
Well, I like all sorts of things really, but I think I was listening to some Indian chants at that time.
Okay.
And so I might listen to a wide variety of music, but I do like that, and I don't think that it's more about consciousness than it is about the music itself, because that's what music. Well, to me, music does. It's like painting, really. It brings about a certain type of consciousness, and then you've got to think about that, what it's doing to you, and how it's impacting on your psyche, I suppose.
Yeah, because my paintings are very much inspired by music, by a band. I don't know if you know them, called the Jesus Mary Chain, who made very pretty songs and then covered them with noise and distortion. And so the paintings made in a very similar way. So they're like layers. So the background is very pretty, and then there's these black and white shapes on top, which are the noise and distortion. So they're like sort of layered music. Painting.
So you do make paintings like that? That would be the question.
Good. That's really cool. Go on, show us another one. I'm quite fascinated by them. They've got. I mean, the funny thing is they're quite different, but they still, for some reason, feel like they belong together.
I think that's what I hope to achieve. Really, I mean, I don't want every painting to give you the same thing, or a variation of the same thing. So it's me thinking about them that is in common, and it's me painting them that is in common. So I can go from something which is very painterly, like this painting, to making those very formal pieces, and still it's me. It's linking with some things that I've done throughout my career, really.
Yeah. So how do you think the 25 years you spent teaching, how did they change how you painted?
Well, I don't know. I don't. I suppose that one in that sort of situation, it's not the students that necessarily change you, but it is, being in the company of a number of really good artists throughout, that length of time, and being exposed to various really good artist people talking about their work, and some of the students. I mean, the rare occasion that you get a student, in a sense, who really has something special. Is a wonderful thing. So occasionally, I mean, Chris O'Feely went to Chelsea when I was teaching there.
Okay.
And Peter Doig too, and I was Peter Doig's tutor.
Oh, nice.
When he was doing his MA.
Okay,
and
check it out.
Part of the reason, at that time, nobody was interested in figurative painting.
No, exactly.
And so it was a strange thing, they think, oh well, give him to Freya. And I mean, I'm sure that wasn't the sentiment, but it could have been, but I really always enjoyed that, that when you actually had somebody who was really deeply interested in what they were doing. And, one discovers more and more of those people as you go on, because they come out of the shadows, so to speak.
Because it's quite because the one thing I would say that all the paintings have got is I've always felt there's like a grammar to painting, a bit like a sentence, and like a nicely written sentence sort of fits in with not necessarily grammar, but it's quite clear. And
yes.
all your paintings that I feel they're quite clear. You've like made the decisions and then you follow them through quite not laboriously, but sort of neatly. It's like each like whatever the idea is, it's come out quite crisply, and that crispness remains through all of them, I think.
Yes, and I think it's a kind of daring as well. You to follow something through to the end, and to not to worry that it doesn't look like anything else you've ever made before. I think a lot. I think it's I don't feel any need for worrying about that. Whereas I think, it's part of what the art world might look for.
Yeah.
Is continuity in what is being done.
Well, exactly.
And so, you just have to have the courage to go beyond it, beyond that, and to just find something new.
Yeah.
So this painting and this painting were not painted not that far apart.
Yeah, they're completely different.
So this is 3.5 meters. It's 2 very large panels. 3.5 meters.
That's quite an extraordinary painting.
It is quite an extraordinary painting. It was in the APT gallery when I had a show there last year, beginning in March last year, and I just this painting is so overwhelming to me. I just think I love it so much.
I've got to say, I actually think it's the most daring one of the lot so far.
Yeah,
in that it's really
so large, and I'm just wondering if I can take you closer.
Yeah,
it's not very successfully, I must say, because the photograph is not so good. But the lines were drawn. The painting was, technically. The lines were drawn with charcoal.
Oh, right, man.
Over a very simply washed pair of canvases. And this painting has a special sort of story. I was thinking about the news reports at the time were all about the Yemen, and the children were dying, and and the sort of the link where I began to think of what it must be like to be in a camp where there is no hope.
Yeah.
And there was a sort of, and I'd done this drawing, and I realised that it was like the edge. It was like the edge, of existence in a way, and that so maybe it's all very corny. I don't know. But it was like I could think about I could imagine the sort of barbed wire fences and that there were bits of paper that had blown around in that sort of environment, little bits of plastic that catch on the fence and that sort of thing. That there was no food in that. There was no way, no solace, I suppose.
Yeah.
Whether talking about this painting in that way is helpful, I don't know.
Totally bizarre. Actually, absolutely fascinating, because I just respond to it on a level of space and yellowness, really. Because I can imagine how big it would be, and I can imagine the sense of standing in front of it, which would not be vertiginous, but it would be strange. And then, what's absolutely bizarre is, because it is the 2 canvases together, that line down the centre, instead of being irritating sometimes, it's just rather neat, crisp, straight line, balancing up against the wobbly lines going back and forth across it, isn't it? It looks like it was purposefully put there.
I know it's been a source of somewhat irritation, but it's a matter of acceptance as far as painting like that is concerned. I couldn't. There was no possibility that I could have made it in one piece, unfortunately for me.
I think if it was made in one piece, it wouldn't have anything like the effect.
no. And it could have been made in 5 pieces like the others, you know, so that it could have gone on and on.
On and on. You know what? I think it's just the moving back left and right over that line is incredibly energizing.
Yes. I also the incidents on the lines. I mean, every line has an incident or several incidents.
Yeah, no, I can see.
And I don't know. I was just sort of thinking about the energy in people's lives. You know, that you get moments of focus and high energy. And if you you know, which may be donated by designated like a little form, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's all a bit, you know, it is a bit corny in that sense if one starts to talk about it, but perhaps, you know, just the visual experience, and if you were seeing it in an exhibition, that's that's all you would get.
That's all you want. Yeah, exactly. Fascinating. Go on. You better show us. I'm not sure how long we've gone on for, but we should probably do a few more and then try and sort of round it up with some deeply intellectual comment to finish it off. Oh, that's cool. That's more Aboriginal, I'd say.
Yes. Well, this was it was. I'll show you the other 2 paintings, which were painted about the same time, and obviously that's the one we were looking at.
Oh, that's
hanging
the
in
one.
the house. But this one's called Cobra,
okay,
and this
cool.
was you know, you can't really describe the paint because you can't really see it, but this painting was based on an advertisement in the Evening Standard for code breakers.
Oh, right.
And it was amazing. It was in the shape of a moth.
Yeah.
And it was a series of numbers in the shape of a moth.
Oh, cool! I like it.
And it was MI5 looking for code breakers, or MI6. I'm not quite sure which. But they were looking for code breakers, and then it sort of said, I know somebody that was trying to do it, and they said, oh no, by the time they'd got to the website, that they told, you're no good, you're far too late, far too slow.
It's quite fun.
But it was I love the idea that it was it became a sort of visual image, and so that's really where it started off for me. And the painting became called Cobra because it didn't. It
looks a bit like a cobra.
It was called Cobra because that's what it was called in the advertisement.
Okay.
And then the shape in the middle of the painting, which is sort of double triangle, is painted from or drawn from the shape of on the back of a cobra's neck.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like that. Yeah.
And so I've got the moth, but then it turned into a kind of butterfly looking shape. And then the lines were all the purple lines were all which they're purple, but you can't really see that. They were in lieu of the numbers that were on the code.
How did you get those blue lozenge shapes so exactly the same size every time?
Well, it's very.
Is that a trade secret?
Well, it's just a yogurt carton.
Oh, it's a yogurt carton. Okay.
Yes, I think so. That was what it was. It was when I was doing this, I was thinking of Larry Poons and how much I missed his work, and then I thought, well, why don't I put some things on?
Yeah.
You know.
That's
so
cool.
There's all sorts of interconnections.
That's cool.
So I'm not sure if it's deeply embarrassing or whether it's
No, we'll worry out of the way.
Oh, I've got another one I want to show you.
Yeah, show us a few more.
Is it okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh wow, that's cool.
Yes, I've got one more after this.
Sure. That's got like vibes of carpets and things to me. I don't know. It's meant to have. But...
Yes, and I think that would be a good way of thinking about it. Actually, it was the way it ended up with the diamonds on it was really to do with an Islamic chant, the sound of an Islamic chant.
Interesting.
But it started out being, it's called In the Time of Blood.
Okay, nice.
And it is it's meant to be. I was thinking about the Libyan war had just started, so that goes back. It must have been 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the artifacts of war, and how they always digging up bits and pieces of daggers and stuff like that. Anyway, it was like that stretching back into a kind of sense of history, that the Libyan War, when it started, was the first breaking down of in a sense, of the systems that were in place across that part of North Africa. And I just thought it was the beginning of an awful lot more. And of course, subsequently, that it turned out to be the case. And I started this painting, and it was really started off about that. So it got called In the Time of Blood. So it was about that.
It's a good. It's got an arrowhead in the centre, hasn't it? Is that like an arrowhead in the centre?
Yeah. Yes. What you mean, this one?
Oh, like a dagger or arrowhead. They're quite interesting.
Yes. I mean, they are like artifacts, and
I see.
I mean, this is like a bound body as well, and things like that. So, it's one of my best paintings, I think.
I think so. It's interesting.
Well,
why do you think it's one of the best?
I don't know. It's because it's well painted, extremely well painted. But I like it because it brings together a whole load of things that I had been thinking of up to that time.
Okay.
So maybe that from that point of view, it was one of my favourite paintings, because it seemed to be able to do what I wanted it to do.
Yeah, compositionally, it holds together very well, doesn't it?
Well, yes.
It's got and I suppose what you've got in it is you've got the sort of abstract formal qualities of the diamonds and the carpet, or the different bits, but then within that you've also got these stories in a way, haven't you? Like the arrowheads, the body. It's got a strange mixture of sort of abstract formality with these stories that sort of hover in and out of it.
Yes. Yes, I think if it were to make you get a feeling of it, then that would be fine by me. But then there's more to look at. It's a painting that you can come back to and look at. And one day you may be looking at how the red finger, and then you realise that it's got these gold pieces in it, and then you might be looking at the ball in the left hand side, or there are bits and pieces in the painting. It's like lots of paintings all in one, if you think about it from that point of view. But yes. Anyway.
So when you live with a painting like this one, I don't know if you live with it, but when you
I do.
Oh, you do.
Yeah.
But do you then find, like I find with like my paintings, you begin to find little sort of roots around them? Do you get that? And then you find different roots around them, and little sort of they like develop, don't they? And you're looking.
Yes, I think so. Yes, and probably that's what is. It's the main painting in our living room, and so I'm looking at it all the time.
Yeah.
And I enjoy various bits of it for various reasons. It's like a lexicon of my vocabulary. Put it like that, perhaps as well.
Interesting.
There was one more. Oh yes, this one, which of course is another very different looking painting.
Okay. But it's actually got a similar vibe to it in a way.
Yes.
Because you've still got the stories, although these look more like African shields, maybe.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
But that's weird, because the creamy white is so different. The creamy white sections are so different to the last one, which was all full, wasn't it?
Yes.
Well, this one's got these spaces inside it.
Yeah, it's the African link. I just, on some of the paintings on people's houses and so on, they use this incredible white, and they are actually white. It may not look like that here, but they are very white.
No, I can see they're painted, aren't they? There's not just bare canvas. It is.
Yes. Oh, yes. Everything's painted.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's even slight different, because the whites, you can see the texture of the white in the white, slight changes between them.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see enough really to see that the brush strokes. Oh yes, you can.
Yeah.
You can see just.
That's quite tricky. Very interesting. It's interesting. It's changing, because as you go on, then you've got these stories within the pictures. They're more like, they're difficult to describe, but very intriguing.
Yes, I'd like to think that they continued
Yeah,
be
to work.
intriguing. You know, that's in a way that's one of the criteria I have for myself of making paintings. So I think I just want to show you.
Oh wow, that's cool.
One more. Well, you know, that's just some trees.
Yeah, but it's so different, isn't it?
Yeah.
How could you stop yourself from painting an African shield on top of those trees?
Yeah, well, it's about something else. You can't. I don't want it to overlap. If I start doing that, then we've got too much. So this is unfinished at the moment, but I thought it was quite interesting to just look at these because I don't know, have I got more than one? No, I haven't. Oh, yes, I have. Here we are. Here's another one.
Okay, nice one. Cool.
Those two are, and I think it's actually. Oh, sorry.
No.
I think I've got that one as well. Is that the next one? Oh, go too far, too fast. Yes, those two paintings are two of three that I'm working on at the moment. But these really relate back to when I first started painting.
Oh, really?
So when I was doing my MA, I was doing these not paintings that even looked like this, but the way that the drawing was done in the paintings, it was very loose.
Okay.
And then the sort of structural forms got developed in the painting. And you know, when they were long paintings, and so they have to have specific geometry, otherwise you can't follow through.
They're interesting. I mean, I love the little black dots building up. I mean, it does something weird. They're like bricks, aren't they? Building up a kind of surface or wall, even.
Yes, it's sort of mosaic.
Yeah, mosaic.
Mosaic look to it. Well, this one's completely changed now, but anyway, I just thought it's quite useful to have a look at those.
And what brushes and paints and stuff do you use?
Well, a variety of brushes. What does any painter use?
Well, I mean, some of them have like favourite paints and stuff like that. But are you quite?
I have at the beginning of this. I have got a video of my studio.
Okay. I'll pop. You sent it to me already, haven't you?
No, I redid it.
Oh, you redid it. Do you want to just play it now?
Yes, I can do it now. Hold on a moment. Yeah. Where is it? Here it is.
Here we go. Cool.
Oh, there we are.
Oh, nice. I like it. That is funky. Cool, man. You've got a lot of stuff. Are these all finished or on the go?
No, these are all on the go. They're all unfinished. Some are nearer, more finished than others.
So you've got a lot of pictures on the go at once.
So you see, the red ones are the bane of my life at the moment because they need to go. And then
you need to get them out of the way.
And I'm taking you around my studio. There's a whole load of small ones that are being done there. I'm working on those as well.
Oh, man.
But it's a part of my ruling this year that I will, for myself, is finish off every single painting that's left hanging in my studio. Because I've had enough of it.
That's really good. Oh, nice close up on the paints and the brush. Oh, you've got it's much more organised than mine. My place just looks like a wreck, but it looks very nicely controlled.
Well, there's a lot of space, you know.
Yeah, no, it's a lovely studio.
So I'm very, very lucky. I feel very lucky that is available to me at the moment.
No, it's really cool. Well, you are making the most of it, I think it has to be said.
Well, I hope so.
No, I'd say it's brilliant. I've really enjoyed looking at the pictures. It's been fascinating to see such a sort of variety that still has a sort of cohesiveness to it. No, I've really enjoyed it.
We're going to stop the share now. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. We'll see what happens. Oh, we're back. Cool.
No doubt. No doubt.
Nice one. Nice. So is there anything else you wanted to show me before we round it up?
No, I think that's pretty done
Lovely.
quite a lot, really, isn't it? Just to say thank you very much. And I think it's I think the videos that you're doing is really a great idea.
Oh, cool. Thank you very much. Thank you. No, it's been No, it's really good actually. I mean, I've just learned so much throughout doing it as well, and it's just quite fascinating actually to see what everybody does. Anyway, Freya, I've loved chatting, and I'm looking forward to letting this video loose into the world to see what happens.
Well, I'm somewhat dreading it, but I hope it's all right. Thank you so much for that.
No, it was really good. Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Bye.
Bye.
Bumbuckler.